Hi there to all my Facebook friends. Just want to say a big, big shout out to all of you. Glad to know that you're on board. Hey. Love y'all so, so much. Wow. We're getting ready to go up, so I want you to stay right here with me because we're going to have it going tonight. Hey, I'm coming right back in just a moment. Carita Dee. Oop.
The Lord has come to give you life more abundantly. He's come to heal your wounded soul and set your spirit free. Mother, sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend, get alive. Oh, girlfriend, get alive.
Well, welcome to the Carita Dee TV Show. I'm Carita Dee. So glad to have you in the house one more time. Hey, it's another great day that God has made, and we're going to have some joy up in the house. Hey, listen, tonight, as usual, we're going to have a great show. Want to make sure that all of you are on board with me. So if you're on board with me and you're coming to me live via Facebook Live, just go onto our Facebook page, log in, connect, and of course, drop a comment and say hi. For all of you out there in the Eastern Caribbean and all across the Caribbean, I want to say a big, big good night to you. Hey, all of you out there in Trinidad and Jamaica, Antigua, down there in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Virgin Gorda, want to say hi to Virgin Gorda, always shouting me out. To those of you in Haiti, I know a lot of you came on board from Haiti because you were here for our wonderful interview with Danielle Deris. And so we want to make sure that you're always on board with me as well. To all my Haitian friends, comment ça va? And to all of you out there in the other parts of the Eastern Caribbean, just want to say a wonderful, wonderful good night to you. Hey, listen, we're going to continue to talk about some interesting topics here on the Carita Dee TV Show, simply because we want to get all in your Kool-Aid. I mean, seriously, girls, it is time that we wake up and smell the roses, okay? I don't care whatever's going on in your life. I get hundreds and hundreds of letters from girlfriends from all over the world. And one of the common denominators is relationships. I know. We all got some problems in the relationship area. So we want to talk about that. And I'm going to be very, very extremely transparent with my life so that you can share with me and I can share with you and we can help each other get it together, okay? Once again, we're going to share with you the phone numbers right here so that you will get to know what's going on and you can give me a call and we can talk about it, all right? In Barbados, it's 467-1046, of course, area code 246. And then we've got a free, toll-free number for anyone across the Caribbean, and you can call us at 855-213-7500. 855-213-7500. That's a toll-free number. It's not going to cost you anything. So go ahead and give us a call right here as we talk more about things that concern us women. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And many, many years ago, when I came back to the Lord in Charlotte, North Carolina, I made myself a promise. And I promised myself that I would not be a phony. Okay, I don't know about you, but I was just sick and tired of being Mrs. Pretend or Miss Pretend at that time. I had gotten to the point where I didn't understand the whole Jesus thing. I didn't understand the God thing, but I did understand that I knew what I was feeling on the inside wasn't right, and I wanted it corrected. Now, I don't know about you guys. If you want to walk around like that, that is entirely up to you. But for me, I didn't want to pay that transparent. I didn't want to conform to people's opinions of me either. I didn't want to conform to, I didn't want to live this fake life where I was trying to be Miss Holier Than Thou here and then running around and sleeping like a tramp over here. That didn't work for me. It wasn't working for me. I don't know if it working for you, but that was not working for me. I wanted to be real. I wanted people to love the real me. I've got a personality that I absolutely love about myself because why? God created it. I love me. I cherish me a lot more. I understand me a lot more. And I wanted people to love me just as I am. And guess what? I got to the point where it's like, if you didn't like me and you didn't love me, too bad. You missed out on a good thing. And I just walk away. As a matter of fact, Jesus even said, if you step into somebody's house and they don't receive you, shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving, baby. So it's all right. Everybody is not going to like you. Everybody is not going to care about you. And what is happening is that we've got so many young people with so many low opinions of themselves that sometimes you get to the point where it's like, oh my God, who wants to be like that? So I'm reaching out to all my girls right here. As you see me looking down, I'm reaching out to all my girls on Facebook, and we're going to be coming back and talking to a very, very good friend in just a moment. Hopefully we can get her connected because she's got a phenomenal story and great information on what's happening with a lot of our women. A lot of our women are being caught up in sex trafficking. And it doesn't start, I really want to say this, it doesn't start with just, okay, well, I get up one day, or your daughter gets up and just goes and disappears. It starts in the home. It starts where she has low self-esteem. It starts where it doesn't really know who she really is. So many of us don't know who we really are. It starts where she is unhappy about her nose, or she's unhappy about her eyes, or she's unhappy about her legs, and nobody is reaffirming that she is a beautiful child inside and out. This is why mothers and fathers too, because fathers are the first example of a man that a young woman is going to see in her life. He sets the bar. So what ends up happening is, if a man doesn't show his daughters, especially, if he doesn't show his daughters the kind of man that she's supposed to be with later on, if he exemplifies the kind of man that walks away from his family, if he exemplifies the kind of man that doesn't take care of his family, if he exemplifies the kind of man that is abusive to his family, if he exemplifies the kind of man that just doesn't care and he is withdrawn and detached, then that is the first example of a man that his daughter meets in this world. Can you believe it? Yes. And so that's the bar that she has set. Pretty low bar. I'm telling you right now, it's a low bar. But the fact remains that that's the bar that she's gonna see. So if you don't have somebody else, if her mother hasn't gotten over it, hasn't been educated beyond it, if her mother hasn't now gotten to the point where she can counteract it, and I'm going to show you some tools how to do that later on in the show. But if she hasn't gotten to the point where she can start making some real progressive decisions on how to get around all of that was started, man, you're in for a hard time. And so what happens is, years later, you may see girls in the red light districts of Jamaica and Barbados and Grenada and St. Vincent and Antigua. You may see the girls in prostitution. You may see the girls in these kind of areas where they get into sex trafficking. And you have no idea how they got there. They got there in the early part of their lives because someone didn't reaffirm who they really are. We are kings and queens, baby. We are not supposed to live like that. So if you're the kind of person that you're thinking, oh, well, they just got up and they just went into sex trafficking, I got news for you. We got to get to the bottom of this thing. We got to get our children back, get our young women back, get them back to where they know where they're supposed to be. So we're going to be coming back in just a moment because we're going to talk more about this sex trafficking coming right back. I'm Carita Dee telling you, girlfriends, get a life.
Sister, best friend, no, the message is still the same. Girlfriend, get a life. Oh, girlfriend, get a life.
Festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again. The Caribbean's greatest summer line, yeah, it's coaching all the time. 44 is we here, I know you love it here. Troops and festivities, we love the Caribbean. But all night, no time to sleep, emancipate with me. Back to the folklore, culture on the 44. Back to the folklore, welcome to our island shore. Back to the folklore, entertainment to die for. Back to the folklore, culture on the 44.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Develop an emergency communications plan. Make sure all family members know what to do, especially children.
dream. Girlfriend, get alive. Oh, girlfriend, get alive.
Well, welcome back. You're back with me, Carita Dee. So glad to have you back in the house. And of course, you know the phone number because we're going to be hooking it up with you all week. And we've got some hot topics coming up this week. I know that a lot of you have been calling me. Yeah, that's right. You've been just calling me, touching base with me, and telling me all about your relationship issues. And believe me, I have not forgotten. We were just trying to make sure that we had it all together because we are going to be talking to you. I'm going to be talking to you, especially starting tomorrow night. Yep, tomorrow night is the night that we're going to go hot, live, and kicking. I mean, it's going to be fire. Yeah, that's right. It's going to be fire from tomorrow night as we start our relationship series right here on the Carita Dee TV show. It's going to be hot because, like I tell you, I am totally 100% transparent. Now, let me tell you why I'm transparent. The reason I'm transparent is because many, many years ago when I came back with God, one of the things, I had a girlfriend who worked with me. I used to work in the airline industry. And she and I worked together. And every so often, if I walked past her, she would always say, "Girl, get free." I'd be like, what's she talking about? And I just kind of ignored her. And then after a while, maybe 5 minutes later, she'd walk by me. She'd say, "Girl, get free." And I thought, okay, you know, I'm an island girl living in the U.S. You know how it is. And I just couldn't understand what it was. So the third time she said, I turned right around and said, "I do not know what you mean." Okay. And she then explained to me, she said, "I can see it all over you, girl. You're just not free. You get to the point where you're so free, it doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter. You have to know who you are in Christ. You have to know who you are in God. You have to know, you have to be so built up on the inside that it does not matter no time at all what anyone else thinks about you." So that's where I am when I say get free. So I am free. I'm okay being transparent with my life. It don't hurt me one bit. I'm not calling anybody else's name. If you figure it out, well, that's on you. But, you know, I'm just talking about me. And I want to share that. Tonight I want to talk to my girlfriend, Nancy. And so we're going to be talking to Nancy in just a moment. Is she here with me? Hey, Nancy. Hey, how you doing, Nancy?
Doing great.
Great.
To be here.
Awesome. Nancy, I was just telling all of my friends out there who are on board with me, we were talking about just building yourself up and getting to the point, you know, of knowing who you are, because a lot of the girls now are involved in sex trafficking and things like that. And they get caught up in sex trafficking. And I say, oh, my God, things like this don't happen overnight, Nancy. They just happen, you know, it's not like that somebody comes and pulls them out of their home. They have made a series of decisions, got themselves in certain situations, and then, unfortunately, because of all of this, then they get caught up. Isn't that right?
That's usually how it happens. Yep.
Yeah. Tell me, Nancy, you've been involved in this whole campaign to eradicate sex trafficking, human sex trafficking, for a long time. Tell me, what are your thoughts on what's happening now as it pertains to, you know, the record numbers that are going on?
A lot of people are confused. They don't understand why we're still talking about this.
Right.
Because what do you mean, slavery, human trafficking? Didn't we take care of this like ages ago?
No.
Well, unfortunately, it is worse than ever.
Wow.
The State Department, that's not known for making wild guesses,
Right.
estimates that worldwide there are more than 30 million people living in slavery or in slavery-like conditions.
Wow.
This is more than at any other time in human history, and I'm embarrassed about that. I thought that we humans had gotten beyond this by now.
Right.
Next to illicit drugs, it is the biggest organized crime on the planet. It is a multi-billion-dollar international business, and we need to pay attention to it.
Wow, Nancy, I really admire you for you know, your involvement in this, because a lot of people don't know how widespread it is. And believe it or not, after you and I chatted right online, I started doing some research and found out that the Caribbean, where we are from right now, has 16 countries where sex trafficking remains a problem right now. And I bet a lot of people didn't know that.
Well, Aruba happens to be the center of the international slave trade in the Western Hemisphere.
Jeez.
Aruba has three major industries. Number one, drugs. Number two, trafficking. And
Right.
number three, tourism.
Right. So it seems to me like they're tiers. Like there's a tier 1, there's a tier 2, there's a tier 3. Yeah, because I was just starting to research it and found that in Barbados was a tier 2. I found that Belize was a tier 3, and so on. Haiti made the tier 3 list for the same reason as the Bahamas. Suriname is on the tier 3 list as well. The Dominican Republic is on the tier 2 list. Let's see who else. Aruba, of course, is on the tier 2 list, and Barbados and Cuba is on the tier 2 list. Curacao is on the tier 2 list. Guyana, oh my gosh, is on the tier 2 list. And I've been hearing a lot about Guyana recently. I don't know if you've been hearing about that as well.
Yes. Okay, let me explain. Tier 2, the State Department comes out every year with a worldwide analysis of human trafficking. And they categorize the countries in 4 different tiers. Tier 1 means it's a problem, but it's not huge, and the countries are trying really hard to do something about it. Tier 2 means it's a big problem, and the country is doing something to try to solve it. Tier 3 means it's a huge problem, and the country is hardly doing anything. And
Wow.
Tier 4 means it's a huge problem, and the government is actually part of the problem.
Whoa.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what tier 2 and tier 3 mean.
Okay, so we've got all these tiers, and as we mentioned, some of them are, on different levels. We're going to be coming back and talking more about what we can do to eradicate this epidemic that is coming about right here in the Caribbean. Hey, listen, I'm Carita Dee. Make sure your daughters are listening. We're going to come back in just a moment, right here on the Carita Dee TV Show.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive, oh, girlfriend get alive.
In Northern California, neighbors report a dog is trapped in a nearby concrete wash. The animal appears calm, but is unable to find a way out.
Somehow she got into the canal. They get into the canals. The canals are lined with algae.
And now will they be able to coordinate their efforts?
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Avoid sightseeing.
And they really don't know, because they never really got. And another thing that we don't get into enough, Brady, is help a young man understand what it means to be a man.
That's right. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that's one thing that when you were talking about video games and movies in particular, is oftentimes you just see sort of one type of man in movies. And I think it's important, as you said, whether, boys growing up need someone to confide in, whether that's to talk about.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Keep phone lines free for important calls.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive, oh, girlfriend get alive.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee. So glad to have you back in the house. We're talking about human sex trafficking tonight. Really want to talk about my girls because this is what the show is all about. It's about helping women to get back on track. And sometimes in the midst of just living life, sometimes in the midst of just doing things where you're on a humdrum basis and you don't realize that you're losing our children, you're losing our girls especially. And yes, I know that there are guys being caught up in human sex trafficking as well, but predominantly I'm sure they're women. I just want to say a big shout out to some of the Facebook fans, Psalmist Alicia Harden and Flowers and my girl Chica, Beatrice Broutmo. She's out there in Florence, South Carolina. And Bella Highly Flavored Morgan, I believe you're out there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And all of you, just make sure that you put also where you are, because we've got people from all over the world. I don't know where you are, and I want to know where you are, okay? So just go right back on there on Facebook and tell me exactly where you are so I can give you a shout out. Hey, listen, I got my girlfriend, another girlfriend, Nancy Hartwell here. And Nancy is talking about human sex trafficking. And Nancy, I want to get back to you after the break because you were talking about, you know, these horrendous episodes. Tell me, do you have any particular stories that you can share with me about the human sex trafficking?
Well, yes. In fact, I've written 3 books about victims of the modern day slave trade and the sex trafficking, particularly as it relates to the Persian Gulf. That is one of the major markets for sex slaves. By the way, a good-looking young blonde, especially if she's tall, can retail easily for more than $100,000.
Stop the madness! $100,000? Is that U.S.?
Yes.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's U.S. dollars, right?
U.S. dollars, and as long as somebody is willing to pay those prices, somebody is going to supply the market.
Of course they are. I mean, that's a huge business.
Yes, and if you have to pay $20,000 bribes along the way, that's just part of the cost of doing business, right?
Wow. And, you know, I actually happened to see a movie, I believe it was on the Lifetime Movie Network, and it was a very interesting movie about a father who was trying to get his daughter back from this sex trafficking ring, and it really opened my eyes to the enormous amount of money that is involved in this. That's why I then started to hear stories on a local level here in the Caribbean where people started it out doing prostitution, and then it turned into actual sex trafficking because they started depriving the girls of any ability to get out.
Yes, yes. And there are all kinds of techniques that these predators use to lure and then trap their victims. They promise fabulous opportunities.
Of course.
Like a really lucrative modeling job, or a part in a movie, or to participate in a hot new band.
Oh, wow.
And they go to great lengths to make themselves look legit. For instance, and they'll advertise on websites that they know that young girls frequent, okay? Right. And then when the girl comes for the quote interview, unquote, the guy will be pretending he's on a fake phone call, pretending that he's casting the remake of a big Hollywood hit, anything to get a 14-year-old's juices flowing, right?
Right.
Then he'll ask a question, a double-barreled question, and it is, do you have time to sit down and chat for a few minutes, or is somebody waiting for you? Now, she hears the first part. Oh, goody, he's taking me seriously. He wants to talk to me.
Yes, yes.
What he's really asking is, have you come alone and unprotected?
That's it. You got it. You got it. That is exactly it. And a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old have no idea because they're craving this attention. They're craving this love. Nobody's giving it to them at home.
Bingo. Bingo. And so he'll sit down and chat with her for 5-10 minutes. And she's so excited, she's about ready to pee her pants, okay?
Right.
Okay, let me show you the studio.
Right.
Well, it's a closet. And he dumps her in, locks the door, and then calls the broker. Now, the broker is probably part of the Russian mafia.
Yes.
They used to just operate in Russia and Eastern Europe, but they noticed the vacuum, and now their tentacles are everywhere. So he'll call Boris or Arkady or whoever it is, and within a few hours, she's drugged. She's boxed up in a crate, labeled some kind of industrial equipment.
Right.
And she's on her way to a brothel or a harem on the Persian Gulf.
Now, Nancy, really, really good information because a lot of our young girls, and I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that they will pay $100,000 US and more for someone who's blonde haired. Are there any prices for people like me? Because I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe they just want about $40,000 for me.
You're gorgeous, and
so sweet.
So it's a little bit less, but
Yes.
it's still like 75,000.
Oh, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but the younger, the better.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that rules me out. Just kidding.
Well, usually they're looking for in the 10 to 20-year-old range.
Yes, they are. Fresh meat. They want virgins. They want usually girls that are inexperienced.
Premium,
Yes, premium, premium. Wow, this is fascinating because a lot of young girls have no idea what they're exposing themselves to, Nancy. They have no idea what it's just so sad. They have no idea what their whole lives are about to change for the worse, and sometimes it's hard to get it back. So I'm so glad you're here talking to me tonight because I've got lots of juicy questions for you. Nancy, real quick, what's the age range of most that they're looking for most? From what age to what age?
About 10 to 20.
10 to 20.
By the time you're 25, the chances go way down because you're no longer prime meat.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're going to come back and talk to Nancy some more. Maybe it's your child, so we've got to get them educated. Coming right back in just a moment.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive, oh, girlfriend get alive.
3-day event down here at the Hammock and Palm Course, Florida. Covers a lot of volleyball. So let's see how our volleyball players are doing and head on over to the action. Stay tuned.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Keep phone lines free for important calls.
Hey, and welcome to Kai Music Video Countdown with artists from the Bahamas. The Caribbean.
Jehovah, shield me from the evil way I bring me. Jehovah, guide me, and just protect me from my enemies.
Africa.
On every play, my God, on every play. On every play, my God, on every play.
Even if you no get you, never forget to say bye, thank you. Oluwa na go do.
America.
Mother, we want more of you, and for your spirit.
Artist Hot 10 Countdown with me, your host, Landlord. You can also participate in the show by sending your views, your comments to landlordforrent@hotmail.com. And also remember, we play only positive gospel music that has already made the headlines.
And pour your spirit. Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee. So glad to have you back in the house. Want to say a big, big shout out to all my girlfriends from out there in Guyana. You know where you are. Some of you are actually in Guyana. Some of you are around in territories right here in the Caribbean. So glad to have you on board. I want to say a big, big shout out to you. Hey, listen, as a matter of fact, speaking of Guyana, Guyana, the South American CARICOM nation of Guyana, is also on the Tier 2 list with the U.S. report saying there's sex trafficking of women and children from in Guyana, as well as from other neighboring nations, including Brazil, Suriname, Venezuela, and the Dominican Republic. And most, according to the report, are subjected to sex trafficking in mining communities in the interior and urban areas, as some police officers are turning a blind eye because they're being paid off by traffickers. We've got my girlfriend, Nancy. Nancy, we really miss the mark when we say we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We know that that's the way that God made us, but somehow we haven't made the connection that we are truly fearfully and wonderfully made because we are exposing ourselves to these sex traffickers. A girlfriend and I were just talking, and even in your household today, a woman may have a child that's 16 years old. That's just because that's the age range of what you shared with me. She may have a child that's 16 years old, and the child comes home, a girl, and she says, "Oh, Johnny wants to take me out." Well, where does he want to take you? To a fast food restaurant. So basically, all you're worth is a snack box. You know, I'm serious. I'm serious. Can he get a little higher? No, I'm serious, Nancy. So I want to know, based on what you've been going through, what do you say to some of these? Well, first of all, before we get there, what is the process that happens? Because once they're picked up, what happens to them after that?
Okay, well, there's this whole international machinery that sets in motion. There are slave markets.
Okay.
Where you can go and pick out the girl that you like, or the girls, or the boys. Unfortunately, there seems to be a bottomless market for pedophiles. Or you can deal with a private broker who begins to know your tastes and your own specifications. Like, there's a sheikh, for instance, who likes buxom blonde Swedes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Or petite Danes, or
yes.
whatever it is. But the Nordic type is the big seller. Blondes and redheads, which are very rare, of course, in the Arab world, are rather exotic and therefore command a high price.
Yeah.
But some of them end up in brothels.
Yeah.
Okay, there's kind of another tier system here. Once you've hit the ripe old age of 24 or 25,
wow,
you are no longer prime meat, and then you're relegated to a less desirable location. For example, instead of being in a sheikh's harem, he might sell you to a brothel.
Oh, that's just so. Oh my God. So you
brothels are so brutal. The life expectancy is calculated in weeks.
I know, because they're raped over and over and over. Sometimes it's like 30, 40 times a day. And
there are no limits.
Yeah, that's right. Because yes.
Right. Some of the girls are, well, being burned with cigarettes. That's pretty normal.
Yes.
But when there are no limits on what you can do.
Right.
Men.
Yes.
When there are absolutely no limits, they go nuts.
Yes, because you don't understand that because you've come up in such a different kind of world. You have no idea what people are doing. That's why I even admonish people about online dating, because I just think you just don't know who you're meeting. You have a perception of what people are, and then you basically, even if it's not somebody who is human sex trafficking, you are exposing yourself, your family, everyone around you to someone who could be so sadistic and so awful, someone who could be engaged in witchcraft, who could be engaged in all kinds of perverted things. And you just have no idea. It is such a scary world.
Yes. Well, prostitutes in this country, in the U.S., are 21 times more likely to be murdered than in any other profession.
Wow. Wow.
21 times more likely to be murdered.
Now, I got to tell you, Nancy, I walk around from time to time because I'm in the, in different islands, but we have beautiful Caribbean islands down here. And you go to the red light districts, for example, because sometimes I just happen to go talk to the girls in the red light district. And you would be amazed, because these girls are prostitutes, and we're trying to get them off the street and things like that. And you'd be amazed, but I can't even consider, at least with the prostitution, they're hopefully controlling some part of their environment. But when you get to the point of sex trafficking and then reduced to these brothels where they have no control, I mean, it's just too painful to even talk about.
No, it's mind-blowing how cruel people can be to other people.
Yes.
These are professional predators who know all the buttons to push. They are professionals at what they do. They know what works, what doesn't work. They lure you in, and then you are stuck. They don't steal your wallet that messes you up for a few weeks while you try to scramble around and get your papers back. They steal you.
Yes.
They steal your dreams. They steal your future.
That's it.
And there are no words to describe the hell that these victims go through, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity when everything is stripped away from them. I cannot imagine a worse crime.
Neither can I. Nancy, we're going to come back in just a moment, and we're going to ask you how to protect our children. Hey, I'm Carita Dee, coming right back.
It's always an uphill battle to try and get to the truth. And one of the reasons I really wanted to do this show was, Max, you not only are a trial lawyer, but you are also a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist who taught at Harvard Medical School, correct?
Correct.
And you were a doctor for 35 years, was it?
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Check into your home and auto insurance. Confirm that the policies are valid and the coverage is appropriate.
Well, I want to say a big shout out to all my girls across the Caribbean, all my girls around the world. I haven't forgotten you. We're talking about sex trafficking, and it's something that's happening, of course. You see predominantly women, but we do see young men that are being trafficked as well. The reason I'm bringing something like this, because when you hear many people come up in religious circles, and you talk to women who have raised their children to understand God and respect God, when you hear something like this happens, it begins to make you question whether God is really involved. And yes, He's involved in so many situations where we are rescued from things like that, because there's so much stuff going on in the world. world. But we have to be so much more vigilant and diligent, because faith without works is dead. So we've got to take our faith and incorporate some wisdom so that we can save our children from getting to that to these awful conditions. Nancy, I wanted to ask you, how do we protect our children from these kind of situations?
About this, a lot of parents are unwilling to talk about it because they don't want to traumatize their children.
Right.
But if we don't tell them about the danger,
yeah,
we're putting them at greater risk.
Sure enough.
So talk to them and be as graphic as you dare.
Sure enough.
So that the kids will have something concrete to be afraid of.
Yes.
They're going to do things to you that you don't like they're going to burn you with cigarettes. Okay?
Yes.
Okay? They will want to make you cry. And
yes,
nobody come and help you because you're stuck there all by yourself and there's no way for you to get out.
That's right.
So
That's
talk
right.
to your kids about it.
Yes.
Have a family password.
Oh, that's good.
Now, what some predators do, they will go to a school when it's letting out. And they'll find a child with something personalized, like a book bag or a baseball cap or something. And they'll, oh, Julie, hi, look, your mom can't make it here today.
Yes,
so she sent me to pick you up. Now, Julie says, okay, what's the password?
That's right.
And if he doesn't know, then she knows not to leave with this guy.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now,
Yes.
parents have done a pretty good job of telling kids, don't talk to strangers. But these predators know that.
Yes, they do.
So they've come up with some really sneaky ways to get around that.
Yes.
Like a puppy.
Oh,
okay?
Yes.
The kids aren't thinking, wait a minute, I don't know this guy. They're focusing on the puppy. Sometimes they'll say, this works especially with little kids, like 5-6-year-olds.
Yes.
Oh, my puppy is lost. Can you help me find my puppy? I think he's in those woods over there.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Warn your kids. Even
That's right.
if he has a puppy, it doesn't mean he's a nice guy.
That's right.
There was a guy who did a great service to parents. He did he showed this on YouTube. He went to a playground with a dog, and he asked the parents, can I try to lure your child to leave with me? And the parents said, oh yeah, go right ahead, but our kid knows not to talk to strangers. He's not gonna do it. Well, guess what? 8 out of 8 kids left with this guy because he promised to show them more puppies.
Wow.
Most of them were skipping along beside him, holding his hand.
Unbelievable.
It did not look like a kidnapping, okay?
Wow.
So puppies is a big thing.
Yes.
Another thing is that sometimes they work in pairs. Example.
Okay. Yes.
A girl's on a bus. A guy sits down next to her, starts groping her. She gets mad. He gropes her again. She gets even madder.
Yes.
So then this hero from on the other side of the bus comes over and says, hey, listen, you keep your hands off that kid.
Yes.
And then he picks him up and throws him into another seat. Then he sits down next to her. Now,
oh,
did you
that's
ever
her
tell your kids
hero.
not to talk to heroes?
Yes, that's right. That becomes her hero. I'm not realizing.
And in 30 seconds, the hero can extract from her everything he needs to know, where she's going,
phone number.
Is there somebody there to pick her up?
You're right.
Okay? Runaways are at extreme risk.
Yes.
These guys can spot them at 50 paces. They know all of the things to say about giving them a safe place to stay, giving them a hot meal.
Wow.
And it's they they know all the buttons to push, okay?
Yes, yes, they do. Yes.
And so, anyway, runaways, about 90% of them end up being trafficked.
Gotcha.
And so if you know a kid who's even thinking about running away from home, please help them find some other solution, because home might be hell, but they don't know what hell is until they've been trafficked.
You know, I used to live in the United States. I'm from the Caribbean. And while I was in the States, I remember a woman used to share with me some things about children and runaways and things like that. And she always said she told her children, because there's a tendency even when someone is grabbing a child, that you think that the child may be crying, for example, and we have become so desensitized that we may think the parent, you know, is just trying to discipline the child, and the child is screaming and pulling away and screaming and pulling away, and you think it's a discipline thing going on, and the mother's this. And so you have to teach your children, you don't say help, you say, this is not my mommy, this is not my daddy. And if you teach them to say, anytime somebody grabs you, never say the word help, because people are totally desensitized to the word help.
That's a very, very good point. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So in your travels now, and you've been around all across the world as far as where sex trafficking is concerned, are you saying that the most problematic area, you were mentioning the Persian Gulf, because I've got some numbers for the Caribbean. You were mentioning the Persian Gulf and Russia obviously being at the top of the list?
Well, the Persian Gulf is where the money is.
The money is.
And so, right. And some of these princes and sheikhs have more money than they know what to do with.
No doubt about it.
So they'll have a harem with 600 or 700 women.
Right.
You know, like Imelda and her shoe collection. She wasn't going to use 3,500 pairs of shoes, but it was fun just owning them.
Just owning them. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So
right. So that's where the money is.
Absolutely.
It's a big problem in China, Southeast Asia, India. It's a problem everywhere.
Yes.
And it's not just in big cities. It's in rural communities. It's in farm communities. It's in medium-sized towns. Would you believe, for example, that the headquarters
Nancy,
of one of the big
hold on one second, Nance. I'm going to come back, and we're going to talk some more about that right after this.
Okay.
The message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get
A robot dance is an unusual element for the Tobago Heritage Festival, but this feature in the 2018 opening production helps to shape the story of 4 teenagers caught up with technology. On their journey to find the sibling of one of the teens, they each experience different areas of the island's cultural traditions.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Develop an emergency communications plan. Make sure all family members know what to do, especially children.
The message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee, and of course, it is the Carita Dee TV show. So glad to have you back. We've got a girlfriend, Nancy Hartwell, here with me. We've been talking about sex trafficking and how to really instill in our children, our girls, and sometimes our boys as well, the importance of really knowing what's out there in the world. This is not the same world as it was before, believe it or not. This is a world that is absolutely crazy. Isn't it, Nancy? It's a crazy world out there. And you've been around the block enough times to know so many things that are happening that we just don't know. We don't know the the extent. I was just looking to the folks from the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. St. Vincent and the Grenadines made the U.S. Tier 2 list because of child and foreign sex trafficking, according to the U.S. report. Non-governmental organizations and government officials report some adults pressure local minors into sex trafficking, while foreign women engaged in prostitution are subjected to trafficking for sex and foreign workers from South America and the Caribbean. So that's for St. Vincent. So if you are from St. Vincent, give me a big shout out right there on Facebook. Want to talk to you. If you're from St. Lucia, you are also on the Tier 2 list, and it claims that the local and foreign children are as subjected to sex trafficking as are disadvantaged young women from rural areas. So we got to check those rural areas down there in St. Lucia. And according to the government, hey, listen, not me, business owners from St. Lucia, China, India, Cuba, and Russia. Listen to that, St. Lucia. Those are the most likely trafficking perpetrators in the country. So that's St. Lucia. Okay, so then we've got, who else here? We've got a lot. Barbados. Barbados also landed in the Tier 2 list, according to the U.S. report, because foreign women, so we got a lot of foreign women coming into Barbados, whether they're St. Lucians, Vincentian, Guyanese, wherever, have been forced into prostitution in Barbados, especially, listen to this, legal and undocumented immigrants from Jamaica and Guyana. Horrifying. Child sex trafficking is also an issue right in Barbados, citing, oh my goodness, anecdotal reports by authorities and non-governmental organizations that children, oh Lord, are subjected to the sex trafficking, including, listen, they're being given by their parents and their caregivers. Barbados, you got it hot out there. You got to step it up, because we can't have this. Nancy, do you have a major problem in any particular area of the United States that has more of this than other places?
Well, it's everywhere.
It's just everywhere.
As I started to say a moment ago, one of the biggest prostitution rings in the United States is run out of Toledo, Ohio.
Wow.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
Really?
And in Canton, Ohio, sex trafficking by Chinese in massage parlors has become such a big problem
I could see
that the police, when they want to raid one of these parlors, they take a Mandarin interpreter with them.
Yes.
Because the girls have been trained to be scared of anybody in a uniform.
That's right.
So the interpreter can reassure them, no, we're here to help you and not to make your life even worse.
Right.
The Chinese and the Russians and the Vietnamese are very, very organized about sex trafficking.
Wow.
Okay?
Yes.
They will recruit from their home country. They are, they have some people who are specialized in getting business permits that make the parlor look like an absolutely legitimate business. They have other people who are specialized in recruiting.
Yes.
They have other people specialized in financing, others who can take the place down if they get rumors that there's going to be a raid. They can take the whole place apart in an hour, and then they just move to the next town or the next county.
Oh my God.
And these parlors are next to ice cream shops and barber shops.
Yes.
I mean, they just blend into the community, except you might find cars there at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and there's a back door that's pretty busy, and
yes.
Yeah,
I got that. Nancy, I tell you, there's so many layers to this whole thing that I can't even begin to talk about it. But all I can tell you is I am so glad that you came here tonight and shared this with us, because many of us are totally clueless as to what's happening in our environment. I mean, we just get up, we go to work every day, we come home, we send our children to school, we don't know what they're doing, what they're talking about, where they're going, all of those things. So thank you once again for coming, Nancy. We're going to come back in just a moment and tell you what you should do right here. I'm Carita Dee, coming right back.
Sister, best friend, no, the message is still the same. same. Girlfriend, get a life. Oh, girlfriend, get a life.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Check into your home and auto insurance. Confirm that the policies are valid and the coverage is appropriate.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. Girlfriend, get a life. Oh, girlfriend, get a life.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee. So glad to have you back in the house. Nearly 350 victims of human trafficking have been rescued by police in 13 Caribbean and Latin American countries. And the Interpol-coordinated Operation Libertad saved men, women, and children trafficked abroad and forced into work. Victims were found working in nightclubs. They were found in factories, markets, farms, mines. Some worked in spaces no bigger than coffins. God have mercy. Man, officers arrested 22 people and seized cash. They seized mobile phones and computers, and the coordinated raids were the result of a 2.5-year project funded by the Canadian government with trained specialists. It was actually carried out in the Caribbean, and the main part of it actually started right in Barbados. They gathered together and they set up this massive raid throughout the Caribbean, and we're very, very grateful about that. But it means that we have to really get on point. You know, it's so amazing that many of us will read the Word of God and think that that's enough. I get a lot of people who are so interested in praying, and praying is absolutely vital for our lives. But prayer alone is not enough. We need to now get to another level where we're educating and getting words of wisdom and knowledge over our children. It's not enough to sit at home and think that because you gave your child a cell phone, that's it. Oh my goodness, those perpetrators can get that child's cell phone in a minute. As you just heard from Nancy, where they're now operating in twos. One comes as the villain, one comes as the rescuer, and in a minute, they've got your daughter's cell phone number. So that means that's not it anymore. So we really got to buckle down and get to the next level. Hey, listen, tomorrow we're going to be talking about more things to do to empower our women and empower our daughters, because, you know, that's what it's all about here. And tomorrow night we're going to be talking about relationships, so it's going to get pretty hot in here. Hey, listen, I want you to go onto your Facebook page, like us on Facebook, share your thoughts, because we want to develop a movement here in the Caribbean where we go from island to island to island, sharing and really empowering our women, especially to help us to get back on track. It's not enough anymore, girls. All I can tell you is I'm devastated. I want to be able that when I travel from island to island to island on a monthly basis or a bi-monthly basis, that when I meet you, that you can share good stories where you found something that helped to rescue you or your children. You found an opportunity to go to the next level. You found something good to talk about. Hey, listen, just take a moment right now and think about someone that you know that could use this information. Share it with us on Facebook as we go to the next level. Hey, I'll be back tomorrow to talk about relationships. I'm Carita Dee, telling you, girlfriends, get a life.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend